In the Pokrovsky sector, the front lines are once again trembling with terror from the skies. In the latest operation, Ukraine's Black Raven kamikaze drones demonstrated their deadly effectiveness in open hunting, striking Russian troops with undeniable precision. Footage released from the battlefield shows a dramatic scene. A group of Russian invaders attempted to advance in a pickup truck full of infantry, attempting to quickly reposition on open ground. However, the skies above them were being watched by the Black Raven's merciless electronic eyes. The footage shows that as soon as the Black Raven drone locked onto its target and began its descent, panic was evident. Russian soldiers in the pickup truck's bed were seen hastily jumping, hoping to escape the deadly impact with their free-falling bodies. However, their instincts were outpaced by the aerial hunter's algorithms, and their efforts were in vain. In an instant, a loud bang shook the air, accompanied by a flash of fire that destroyed the vehicle and its occupants. Black smoke billowed into the air, leaving only debris and motionless bodies. This victory was only the beginning. Soon after, Black Raven's eyes spotted a new target, a group of Russian troops on motorcycles attempting to utilize the speed and agility of two-wheeled vehicles to traverse open terrain. They seemed to believe that the motorcycles' high speed would make it difficult for the UAV pilots to lock on to their targets. However, that confidence was shattered in an instant as Black Raven drones swooped low at high speed, striking their targets squarely. The speeding motorcycles exploded into flames. The riders were thrown helplessly to the ground, and within seconds, the entire unit was wiped out. This barrage of attacks not only destroyed vehicles and personnel, but also had a profound psychological effect, the Russian troops increasingly losing confidence in moving in open terrain. They now knew that in Pokrovsky, every step, every vehicle advance, every attempt to cross the road was a gamble with almost certain death. The Black Raven drones are uncompromising. Once a target is locked, there are only two outcomes: explosion or total destruction. This operation also demonstrates how Ukraine has successfully integrated UAV technology with modern combat doctrine. Tactically, the Black Ravens are used not only to destroy small tactical targets, but also to disrupt logistics, instill fear, and cripple enemy mobility. A destroyed pickup truck means the loss of a mobile infantry unit, while burning motorcycles demonstrate the failure of Russia's rapid infiltration efforts in the area. All this occurs in a sector now completely dominated by unmanned aerial dominance. Pokrovsky today is not just a point on a battle map, but a symbol of the changing face of modern warfare. The fighting in this sector demonstrates that air superiority, even with small, low-cost drones, can overcome overwhelming numbers of personnel and vehicles. At present, the battle for Lyman intensifies as Latvian military aid arrives just in time to support Ukrainian forces facing renewed Russian pressure, with 42 modern armored vehicles potentially transforming the defensive capabilities of the 3rd Army Corps. Here, as Russian forces push closer to Lyman and threaten to breach Ukrainian lines, a critical delivery of Latvian armored vehicles has arrived to reinforce the defenders. With this timely boost, elite Ukrainian brigades are now poised to counterattack and blunt the Russian advance before it can reach its objective. On the southern flank, the Russians managed to put a large part of the forest under their control and even reach the outskirts of Yampil. Russia has committed heavily in the Serebryansky forest, saturating the area with optic fiber drones targeting Ukrainian ground lines of communication, which is evident from the network of fibers seen in numerous geolocated videos and images. Ukrainian defenders, after years of grueling resistance in the forest, were eventually forced to partially withdraw due to shortages of food, water, and medical evacuation under the constant Russian drone strikes. Now, Russian infiltrators are attempting to cross the Zarabets River and into the forest, even resorting to perfidy and operating in civilian clothes to penetrate Ukrainian lines. Still, Ukrainian forces remain in Yampil and its surroundings by eliminating large numbers of enemy infiltrators. Recognizing the opportunity for a pincer maneuver on Lyman, Russian commanders poured in reinforcements into their northern bridgehead, hoping to spread out and overwhelm Ukrainian defenses. However, the 3rd Assault Brigade acted decisively and massively increased the pressure on the Russian northern flank. Geolocated footage shows that the assault groups moved with high levels of aggression, clearing dugouts, eliminating Russian soldiers, and taking numerous prisoners of war. However, lacking armored support, the Ukrainians had to rely on mortars for covering fire. And while Ukraine was able to restore control over 2 key settlements, they were unable to break Russian resistance. It was clear that without more armored vehicles to provide effective fire support and mechanized mobility, Ukrainian counterattacks wouldn't be able to sustain their momentum against Russian forces shielded by drones. With the Ukrainian counterattack stalling, Russian forces pressed southward toward Lyman, taking control of several tactically significant areas. However, still due to the Ukrainian pressure from the north, Russians were not able to achieve a full-on breakthrough. Namely, the Russian goal was to advance even further and cut the western supply lines leading into Lyman, an operational Russian strategy executed several times before. Geolocated footage shows that as Russian forces moved south, Ukrainians cut down the small infantry groups with FPV drone strikes and artillery, and as a result, dramatically slowed down the Russian pace. Fortunately for the Ukrainians, Latvia came in at the clutch and announced the second delivery of 42 Patria armored personnel carriers to the 3rd Army Corps fighting at Lyman, enough to equip an entire Ukrainian mechanized battalion plus reserves. These vehicles would give Ukrainian forces the protection and mobility needed to counter Russia's advances, and are especially relevant for the Lyman axis. Overall, with enhanced armor protection and multiple weapons configurations, these vehicles are directly addressing the challenges faced by the 3rd Army Corps. Instead of exhausting infantry in repeated small-scale assaults, Ukraine can continue to employ mechanized tactics, using armored carriers to protect troops until they reach assault positions, rapidly redeploy units across threatened sectors, and exploit Russian weaknesses when they appear. 42 vehicles may not sound decisive, but in practice they represent a transformational boost to the units holding